All right, everybody. Today is National Signing Day, the second signing period, but it's going to be a quiet day for the Buffs, Adam. I mean, they're not expected to sign anybody. As we do this, if they do sign somebody, I think we'll both be surprised. But they did a lot of their work back in December for that signing period. And does it surprise you that there won't be anybody, that there hasn't been a whole lot of news right now?
No, because the recruiting process has gotten so accelerated, Brian. You've seen that over your time covering this program, from what the spring evaluation period and summer camps used to mean to what they mean now, and it's about evaluating for future classes. Yeah. Now you have your roster pretty much intact. And it is crazy to me, Brian. They have 13 of their 14 early signees from the high school ranks on campus already. That is, you've seen the full acceleration of this beyond what colleges are doing. Yeah. You're seeing it with these kids in their preparation to get ready to get on campus. And so this spring ball is going to be a lot of fun around here.
That's one of the aspects of recruiting that I don't think gets talked about a lot, is that I remember a few years ago when McIntyre was here, it was a big deal when you would get a couple of those high school kids who would enroll early. Now it's just expected that they're all going to be here. I mean, Zane D'Souza from Loveland is the only one that's not here right now, and so it's just kind of like that's the standard practice now, is they're going to be here early, and it gives those guys obviously that extra semester, spring ball, those 15 practices, but more so than the 15 practices, you got months of working out with the college staff and things like that, and so it obviously helps those guys quite a bit. It's going to help. Let's start off with it's going to help a guy like Juju Lewis, who the quarterback from the Atlanta area. That is here now, early enrollee. Not only did he graduate a year early, he graduated a year and a half early, and he's here now and competing for that starting quarterback job. And so, what have you heard about Juju at this point?
I could not be more impressed, Brian. This is a young man that has to beg the staff to let him into the indoor practice facility late in the evening to be able to throw the football. He's dialed in. And you've got Caden Salter and Ryan Staub, and there's going to be a true quarterback competition, one that I wouldn't imagine will get figured out fully until we get into preseason camp. But he has done everything that you could imagine. And it's crazy. You have teenagers, children that have left the nest. I've got 3 teenagers at home, and it's like the maturity level that young man has shown has really impressed me. And I can't wait to hear more about kind of how that shows, and there's going to be growing pains. There's no way outside of that, but Juju Lewis is here to try to win that starting job.
Yeah, and having been around a lot of teenagers, because I have them, there's some that age that are like, man, I don't know if they'll ever be ready to leave the house. And there's some that are like, yep, they're ready to go. And I think that this staff has done a really good job of finding guys that are ready to go. I mean, they've brought in a lot of mature young players, not just this year, but, you think of Jordan Seaton last year. One of the most mature freshmen we've ever talked to, one of the most well-spoken freshmen we've ever talked to. So they have this staff has a knack for finding those guys. And it's going to be interesting to see what that quarterback battle looks like. Even bigger than that probably is the offensive line battle, and you got 3 offensive linemen. Now, we saw 2 true freshmen playing last year a lot, Jordan Seaton obviously, then Cash Cleveland at the end. It'll be interesting to see if any of these true freshmen played this year. Obviously they're bringing in transfers as well, but I think there's maybe fans looking at it and say, oh, I love this guy because he's a 4-star or whatever, but you really don't want those true freshmen to play a lot of times on the offensive line unless they're really dynamic.
Yeah, it's kind of if it's close, when you evaluate these guys in practice, if it's close, you got to go to the youth, right? Yeah. Especially where this program is trying to build, especially if Caden Salter is the quarterback this year, maybe a little bit more shorter track, but with Juju Lewis, you're looking at a long-term vision here, and you see a Chauncey Gooden, and he's going to be a road grader. Yeah. Now, what does that look like when they get into pass pro, and is he able to kind of pick things up quickly? If he is, you want to roll. I think the tie goes to youth, right? Yeah. In baseball, the tie goes to the runner. Yeah. In football, I think on the offensive line especially, the tie goes to the youth. And Carday Smith is somebody that I think is going to look like an NFL guy in a year. Mm-hmm. He might need that year in the weight room. I don't know. Yeah. Or maybe he just completely buds this spring. I think Jay Gardenhire on the offensive line is a little bit more of a developmental guy that you're going to have to kind of work on over time. Apparently, Gunnar White's going to lead that group here in 2025, and so he's going to have kind of a youth movement to some extent in that group, even though they've got some transfers coming in.
Yeah, Chauncey Gooden was a guy that I actually met him briefly in San Antonio after one of the practices. He was coming off the field, and I was like, who's this guy? I don't recognize this player. I thought he was a veteran, and I was like, hey, how's it going? He goes, good. I'm like, what's your name? And he goes, Chauncey Gooden. And he was super bubbly and excited to be there and everything. And I'm like, this is a big dude as an early freshman. And so yeah, I mean, he looked the part already, and so I'm looking forward to him. Lots of pass catchers, 2 tight ends, 3 receivers on this team. Yeah. One of them, I just want to ask you about one of them real quick. Quentin Gibson, is a guy, not highly recruited, and then as a senior, just absolutely exploded. Did they get a steal here?
Yeah. I mean, if you're into, I guess you would call it football porn, pull up his huddle clip, because it's pretty unbelievable. He is kind of a junior version of what we saw from LaJohntay Wester. Yeah. And that's a great thing. We heard Coach Prime say in a press conference with us of you see the value in a guy like that. And maybe there were some guys that looked, some programs that looked at Quentin Gibson and said, he's not big enough. Yeah. You just turn on the film. That's all you do. Turn on the film, Brian. Yeah. Unbelievable player. He should be a 4-star guy. Yeah. I think he is on some sites. And so, but Adrian Wilson, big-time playmaker coming out of Texas. Quinnell X. Farrakhan Jr., a really good slot receiver, a dynamic returner as well. Mm-hmm. And that's an area they have to fill now, in terms of returners. So that receivers group is pretty special coming in. Yeah. And then I was walking by Omarion Miller today, and it's like you forget about all the talent. Cam Michael, Draylon Miller. I mean, there's a lot of talent in that room.
Yeah, there really is a lot of talent. And, look, LaJohntay Wester would have been one of those guys you would say is not big enough. Well, he looks pretty good. So
he's going to play in the NFL now.
Yeah, he's going to play in the NFL. So, yeah, there's a lot of talent in that room. Defensively, 9 of the 14 are on offense. So defensively, they got some guys that they're hoping can make an impact. London Merritt, has made his presence known. And, Alex McPherson's a guy that, he made his presence known right away when he got here in December. That first when the team arrived to San Antonio, Ben Fennesith and Charlie Offerdahl talked when they first arrived, and we asked any of those guys make an impression. They were both like, Alex McPherson, man, is and he and Merritt were teammates at IMG. So talk about those 2 guys, and do you think those are going to be the top guys on defense?
They were the top 2 defensive guys on IMG Academy's defense. Yeah. I've said this a few times. I don't know if I have to elaborate beyond that, but for folks that don't know, usually you take high school stats, throw them in the garbage, because you could be playing 1A ball somewhere, and you don't have great competition. Those guys were playing a national type schedule, and they wreaked havoc off the edge, especially McPherson. He is probably more ready in terms of technique and just making an impact. Yeah. But man, Merritt is going to be a future NFL guy.
Yeah. Anybody else that stands out in this class among those 14 guys?
Mine, Trez Walker.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to be a starter this year, but I think back to the Jordan Dizons and Nate Lamons that joined the program and got their feet wet and then became stars. Yeah. I could see a trajectory like that for Trez Walker. He came in early, has the right mindset, and so I think he could be a big-time player for this program down the road, maybe more so in 26 than 25. And then Antonio Branch Jr. Yeah. Again, a guy that needs to develop in the weight room a little bit, because I think he's naturally more of a safety. He played somewhat in the box in high school, depending on the opponent. Yeah. And so he's more physical than his frame would allow for at this level right now. But I think in a year, Branch is a guy that's going to be part of that discussion in the defensive backfield as well.
Yeah. Well, I think It's obviously going to be a quiet signing day for the Buffs, but a lot of guys to get excited about in this class. And, the Buff fans are going to get to see almost all of them here soon at spring ball. Since we've done a video, I mean, we learned spring ball is going to start March 11th, the spring game on April 19th. And so I don't think tickets are on sale for that yet, but it'll be interesting to see what the turnout is for that without a Travis, without a Shador, but, Coach Prime's third spring game. And so it's coming up quickly. I mean, it feels like the Alamo Bowl now was a long time ago, and spring ball is going to be here before we know it.
It is, and Mother Nature, as I wrote when they announced the date of the spring game, needs to cooperate this year. We could do without the snow this year, without the wind. Yeah. Let's have a beautiful day at Folsom Field, and it's good too that they're moving it back a little bit, the spring game date, because of the transfer portal window that's going to come up this year. Yeah. It sounds like next year the transfer portal window might be limited just to the winter, but for this year you're going to have that spring transfer window as well. So being able to get that spring game out of the way a little bit earlier to be able to focus on transfer recruiting will be big as well. But come on, Mother Nature. Come on.
Snow 2 years ago, rain last year. Hoping for dry this year, but we'll be back. We'll talk about it obviously more before spring, but that'll do it for us today.